Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Just Jocelyn. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and I'm so glad that you could join us this afternoon. What's up, New Hampshire? We have got a number of lawsuits, cases going on. We have an election coming up, if you didn't know. We have got the questions still arising about ballots, absentee ballots, affidavits, AccuVote Dominion machines, memory cards. I mean, you name it. This has been ongoing for a number of years. And I've had multiple guests here that are experts on these subjects. And you can go back and watch, past shows. Just remember, it's on my YouTube channel. We all need to be paying attention. And if you don't know about it, ask. And a lot of these are pretty darn important. And we need to stop saying, I like that person. Why do you like that person? Oh, I'd have a beer with them. You can't judge people by that anymore. We're not living in the 1930s. We need to be paying attention to politicians, by what authority they're making decisions. That goes for our selectmen and councilmen as well. By what authority are they making these decisions? Because they're certainly not following the New Hampshire State Constitution, common law, God's law. They're following administrative law, man's law. Well, guess what? That doesn't have a place. They've gotten away with it for decades, but not for much longer. Never fear. But you can't stand in the corner and quiver because they've gotten away with it, because the school boards have gotten away with it. You have to stand with the people that are fighting for your rights, and you need to fight for your rights. Ignorance of the law is no excuse anymore. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julie Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh, my pleasure. These are desperate times where we have evil, corrupt, despicable people with a playbook that's beyond a lot of people's comprehension. When you tell them about something that went on, well, are you surprised? Yes. As a Christian, honest, not corrupt person that I know of, I am shocked. I am surprised. And if you're not shocked and surprised, then you knew about it and you need to question, what are you thinking? Where are you coming from? And if you're not following facts and doing your research, what are you relying on? Your feelings? Well, we all know what feelings do. we can't rely on feelings. You can be passionate. I'm passionate. You're passionate. You can be, on the money, and I need to know what this is. That's not feelings. That's wanting the truth. That's wanting to put out what people need to know, facts, not fiction. And of course, the latest, what's the latest word that they use now? Misinformation, disinformation. Those are two words for blah, 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 blah. We can't counteract your facts. So we're just going to say something like, you're a Nazi, or you're putting out disinformation, or whatever, nasty thing they want to say about somebody. And that includes people in their own party. So I digress. We've got quite a bit to get to today. Current, could be not current tomorrow, could be not current in 2 weeks, but right now, today, this is a big deal. So you wanted to start with a person that's running for CD2, Maggie Goodlander is her name, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Before all of these breaking things that we'll be talking about in a moment, we were going to talk about Lily's opponent, Maggie Goodlander,
yes.
The carpetbagger, the privileged aristocrat, running on the Tamposi maternal family name, in that she was born in Nashua, which is not that uncommon.
But isn't the last time she voted here 2008?
Correct. Okay. In person, 2008, before she was shipped off to Yale and law school.
Mm-hmm. And she married Jake Sullivan, and he's the NSA advisor, was to Obama and now is to Biden.
Yes, okay. Though no one ever calls her Mrs. Sullivan. I know that a lot of women keep their last names, but I really want to know more about Mr. Goodlander, her father, mm-hmm. and his side of the family. No one's willing to talk about it.
Well, the family's been kind of taboo. And I kind of get that, but when it's so high-powered, I don't think we should be, our eyes should be covered to that. I don't think we should be working really, really hard to know what that's all about, what the background is. And we do know the husband is, well, have you seen the wedding picture? I was blindsided
with Hillary
by
Clinton
that one.
and all the other bad actors.
Blinken,
Yep.
Uma Abedin, Samantha Powers. There was another guy, white-haired guy, and I can't remember his name. And I think
A bunch of
Mr.
who's
Wiener
who
was-
in the
yeah.
enemy camp.
Yeah, which is kind of scary, if you ask me, because the interviews that I've watched lately, and articles that I've seen, Hillary Clinton is my mentor, and comments like that, and now I'm like, well, who are you really?
Well, my theory is that Annie was urged to retire.
Oh, like Biden?
and when she retired, she endorsed Colin Van Osteren.
Yes.
And, she took a lot of heat because she would always preach strong women, blah, blah, blah. And then what does she appoint? A white man, and she stuck with it. She dug her heels in. And in fact, she even bought some TV time with her endorsement. Like, I chose Colin. But if you look at Governor Lynch, he flipped suddenly. And I think he was threatened.
But again, if there's not a competent candidate, you're going to go with who you know. So it's not that you're not, because she's a woman, you got to vote for her. It's kind of like because Kamala's black, you got to vote for her.
Well, that's the way they operate.
Yeah, and so she actually seems to me maybe went with her conscience.
Yep. I think so. But along comes the shall we say, Annie's superiors, chosen one, Maggie Goodlander. It's like out of the blue. She rents down in Ward 4 High Street, that mixed housing.
Okay.
So she's called to Scanlon. She's calling 44 High Street home, and no aristocrat would live in the slum of Ward 4.
But wait a minute. She has a house in
The Seacoast Mansion in Portsmouth.
Yeah, that's like $1 or $2 million. So
Correct.
I don't understand.
She's renting. Renting so she can claim
Lives in CD1,
eligibility. Yes,
part-time.
And she even told New Hampshire,
Wow.
I think it was New Hampshire Journal, oh, we need more renters. I mean, it's like she made some comment and shrugged it off, but you got to understand that her supporters, they're just so high on that Kool-Aid that they don't care. The supporters are their accomplices.
Interesting. And I know that she lives pretty much full-time in D.C. and then vacations on the coast.
Correct.
In that lovely house, mansion.
And now she's trying to
but then
redefine her
rents
ties.
an apartment? Why wouldn't she live with her mom?
Well, it's not in the district.
Oh, okay. Well, good point. I'm just asking questions for, friends.
She and her mother supposedly, according to cyberbackgroundchecks.com and Maryland's Nosy Neighbor app, she and her mother both in Portsmouth. And I was doing a little digging. There's an address 440, I forget the name of the street, in Guilford, which is not in our district.
Yeah.
Apparently, Maggie and her mother and her siblings all called that 440 whatever street in Guilford home. Big Governor's Island is the name of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Big snooty, like Beverly Hills.
This just that alone, not living in CD1 permanently or semi-permanently. I mean, we've had these issues before, but this one really seems like it's pushing the envelope for what is your actual address. See, those are things we need to question. And these are normal questions we should ask all candidates.
Yep.
In full disclosure, every candidate, we should know everything about them.
Correct. They're running to serve us, not the other way around.
They're public servants.
Yep.
We're not your slaves. And oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure it's all our tax money that funds all of this. So, I'd have a beer with him. I'd have a beer with her. That's not what we should be making our decisions on. This is our state. Wow. I am super shocked. I am kind of shocked. I'm continually disappointed and disgusted by our public servants and politicians and lawyers. Actually, the three branches of government have really gone to heck in a handbasket. And we're being told, shut up and sit down.
They certainly have. And our friend Lori Ortolano nailed it. Nailed it back on April 9th when HB 102 was in Senate Judiciary. If you go into that YouTube video, she said, it's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. I just want my records. And I've lost all faith in the judicial branch, in the legislature.
Branch, and the executive branch. Mm-hmm. Yep. She's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
No confidence.
Well, there isn't. And just to recap, as you know I all do, and no, for those of you that are going to roll your eyes, this is not a put down. I'm not speaking down to you. There's a lot of people that like to be reminded. Your executive branch in the state is the governor. In the USA is the president. Your legislative branch is the Congress and the Senate, again, state and federal. And the third branch of government is the Supreme Court of your state, New Hampshire, and the Supreme Court of the United States. Yes, there are two Supreme Courts. They all have separate jobs, separation of powers. But yet,
Governor
we've got
can make law.
Governors are making law. They think they do, and you don't. And we have a legislative branch that doesn't pull back on them. Or wait a minute, isn't that the judicial branch that should be saying, yo, Mr. Governor, you don't make law? The legislative branch does. And then they need to smack the legislative branch upside the head and say, you're not here for your $100 a year and to take, I don't know, what on the side, or are you just that rich that you can do this job over and over again? And then we've got the legislative branch, the judicial branch, who's only supposed to opine on law.
But when they almost all of them are appointed by the same governor, it's getting a little top heavy.
Yeah. And again, in many states, the judges and the AG and the Secretary of State are elected. And no, I don't want to hear, they're elected by elected by the people in other states. And I think that's the way it needs to be because we, the people, have to keep our thumb on them. They are our public servants. And they take our tax money and they use it for purposes not intended and then, try to knock us down with nasty phrases. Whew.
We did talk about that last time I was here.
We did.
About appointments. I think we talked about the Attorney General, and the Attorneys General of 43 states are elected the ordinary way. And I was thinking of the how Scanlon, the Secretary of State, is elected by the legislature.
But put out there by the governor. Chosen by the governor and the executive council, but it has to be voted on by the legislature, I believe.
Ours. Correct.
Yep. And the AG is appointed by
the governor and the executive council
approves it.
Yep.
And in New Hampshire, we have an executive council as opposed to a lieutenant governor. In many other states, and probably it's 43 that have a lieutenant governor.
I have not looked that up, but I would not be surprised if 43 states have a lieutenant governor.
Right. So, and everybody likes to say that the executive council is much better than a lieutenant governor. I don't know. From the people that I know in other states, it seems like the lieutenant governor is the better way to go.
I haven't done my homework on that to get into the weeds of that today.
I can't get into today, but hey, that's your homework. You guys do research, not rely on me, not rely on Julie and everybody. We're throwing it out there. We do, background checks and as much investigating. But again, it's just me. It's just Julie. It's just Wayne. It's just Paula Johnson. It's just Lori Ortolano. It's 11 pro se litigants in the courts because we've gone through over, I think between us, we're over 30 attorneys in this state that basically look us in the face and say we wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's too political, which is secret code for we'll lose our bar license.
Yeah.
I know it is because I've been told that. So what are we supposed to do? Well, guess what? We have the right and the standing as taxpayers, citizens of New Hampshire, citizens of the United States, and I definitely am. And we won't go in the weeds on that one. Legal, we're not illegal. have harm based on what has been done and decided in this state. So we have standing. But somehow, across the United States, all these courts, you have no standing, case dismissed. You have no standing, case dismissed. If you have no standing, then I have no jurisdiction. Really? And I'm hearing this across the United States from top-notch lawyers, from top-notch public servants that you can trust. This is what we're hearing. This is what we're hearing, bar none. And as pro se litigants, I think we're pretty darn good. Are we perfect? No, we're not lawyers. We didn't go to law school. Thank God. I won't tell you what my grandmother used to say. Something like you can't swing a dead cat without hitting. Let's move on to interesting things. So news came down yesterday about Justice Marconi was indicted for trying to interfere with her husband, Gino Marconi's criminal investigation. I think the court of public opinion is pretty well divided. What say you? What do you know on this?
Well, as we were talking about while waiting to come into the studio, some people think that it is a revenge situation. Sununu appointed Judge Marconi, and what I've been told is that her husband, who sits on that Peace Redevelopment, is opposing offshore wind, which is a big developer project that Sununu's developer friends are into.
You mean those wind turbines that
destroy
kill
things.
the fish, kill the birds, huge SWAT that put the most unbelievable sound waves and frequencies that kill everything. Yeah. Thank God for him. Thank you, Gino.
So he's I've been told that he's against that. And he was quietly put on administrative leave a few months ago.
Yep.
And then she shortly thereafter was put on leave, and suddenly yesterday, it was a breaking story. I think Kevin Landrigan tweeted it. That's how I found out.
Yep, and I've got this one's Nancy West for In-Depth New Hampshire. Yep, Sununu nominated Judge Marconi to the state Supreme Court in 2017, confirmed by the Executive Council. Oh,
Wheeler.
There we go. Yeah, this is just really, she's charged with 2 Class B felonies. And again, we just don't know.
It's very unclear. They're not sharing a whole lot of detail.
Wow. So there's some more homework, people. Look into this. We should know what's going on. It's not private. They're, again, a public servant.
Who's on paid
administrative leave.
That's the operative word. We're taxpayers. They are paid.
I just had a little light go off. So administrative leave.
Free vacation.
Well, wait.
Follow
my thought process. Administrative leave from an administrative court as opposed to a constitutional court? Ooh, because administrative law is law made by man. The Constitution and your enumerated rights and common law is from God. That just kind of struck me right there. Huh.
Well, because the word administrative was used.
Yeah, just all of a sudden I was like, That's very interesting. Well, moving on. Are we ready to move on?
We're ready to move on.
Fabulous. So another announcement yesterday from the Attorney General's office. Ex-senator and casino owner Andy Sanborn is charged with theft. I know there was rumblings 6 months ago, maybe longer, about a Porsche and some really expensive cars that were bought. But what is this?
And his wife just stopped showing up for work in committee and in the House. She has not participated in a House roll call since, I think, January.
But she's in the legislature.
Correct. So the town of Bedford is underrepresented. She didn't resign. They didn't ask her to resign. She's just a no-show. And the other thing was she sat on some special committee. I don't remember what it was. It had to do with investigating charitable gaming. And our speaker took a lot of heat because why? That's a conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
Why would
I would think so.
Yeah.
Just on the word play.
You don't need a degree in civics to see that's a conflict of interest.
Should be on another committee. So it says Sanborn distorted the casino's gross receipts, and this falsification resulted in win-win-win, and Sanborn receiving $188,474 more in grant money. So we got grant money plus the $188,000 plus than what they were due.
The moving parts, there's multiple puzzle pieces.
Okay.
I believe that he rushed through the permitting process to either build or expand Casino in Concord at City Hall to get like planning board approval.
Okay.
I believe that he formed a shell corporation, kind of like Nashua and the 201 Corps that Lori talks about. And he paid himself rent. So he pretended to be his own landlord and paid like a year's worth of rent. I'd have to look up the numbers, but he pretended to be his own landlord and used that ESSER funds or COVID relief money, which casinos are not eligible. He named it win-win-win.
Yeah.
So you got that going on. Then you got the sports cars for him and his wife. There's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of moving parts in there.
Like you kind of have to have those Post-its on the bulletin board and follow,
Yeah, like they do in those murder mysteries and everything where you've got the perp chart.
Now, if Adam Sexton would do that for us.
Hey, Adam, that's your homework.
There you go.
And everybody, and again, this is not bashing. This is out there for everybody to see. And when you're seeing these allegations, alleged crimes, but they're showing up in huge amounts.
Another thing, I don't know if it was Judge Marconi or Andy Sanborn, but Formella told the press in a press conference that no one is above the law, and he is committed to making sure that everyone is treated equally under the law, including public servants. That's in a tweet, either from Landrigan or Sexton.
From his mouth to God's ears. But you know what? I think there might be some kind of a, covering. Maybe they wiped it with a cloth, a little bit of bleach.
And another thing to think about is that Kelly Ayotte will not tell us what she's going to do with Formella in April when his term expires.
Is she's going to renew
him or choose someone else?
Somebody else. Kelly,
An
honey.
Question.
Answer that question.
She was the Attorney General at one time, so...
So I'm well aware of that because, or she had just stepped down around the time when my life changed dramatically, of which I never got an apology from any of the people at the top. And I would like one because it cost me, 15 surgeries, over $1 million in costs and everything, and loss of jobs because, we don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I keep hearing this over and over and over again. It's like some kind of mantra out there that all the lawyers, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, it's too political. And all too political keeps pointing back to the same 4 or 5 people, which is pretty disgusting, which says to me, would you guys all have some kind of an agreement? What is this? I know people get each other's backs, but this seems a little ridiculous to me. Oh my goodness. So now talk to me about Brentwood. What is Brentwood?
So Brentwood, interestingly, I did a right to know and I got stonewalled by
Really?
the police chief. Now, what we're about to talk about could be unrelated to what I did the right to know.
Okay.
I'll say that up front.
Yep.
So what I wanted to know was certain narrow scope of information. I wanted to get some documents that had the name of an elected official within 2 calendar dates. So I said, please, Brentwood Police, under 91A, I would like a copy of all documents that have this person's name. Here and here, very narrow. And I would also like raw footage, either on a data stick or I could come in and bring a CD, whatever they would prefer. They could email me, whatever. I wanted footage from any Brentwood PD operated camera that was pointed at a specific intersection, at or near a specific intersection, because it had to do with sign theft problems in a game cam that they set up.
Really? Sign theft problems. I can't imagine.
And because the primary was coming up so soon, and it was right before Labor Day weekend, of course, they love to milk holidays. That's not a business day if you're doing a right to know. So it was like the Wednesday before Labor Day. And so they made me wait their 5 days. Yep. They wanted their 5 days. And Chief Ventura, Esquire, so that means he's a lawyer.
Oh, that's a royal title. Hello.
Sent me a polite email, dear Miss Smith. I'm apologizing for the delay, and I'm turning you down. And you asked me to cite the exemption, so here's the exemption. And it was kind of like Judge Temple rambling for 59 minutes.
To say one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it. I saved the email. I gave Lori a copy. So, anyways, he said at the end, if you'd like to refile, we will consider it a separate request. Well, the primary came and went, and that particular candidate lost the primary. So I didn't think much about it. But then I saw on the news, breaking news, that the police chief and the town administrator both were placed on administrative leave.
There's that word again.
At an emergency non-public meeting. And the police chief told the press that his lawyer instructed him not to talk to the press.
Put him on a gag order? An NDA?
Or he was advised to refer all questions to counsel. So I asked someone in Brentwood, someone that just knows people, and said it was a personnel matter.
Oh, but that's what they always say.
And
there's that no standing. It's a personnel matter.
And this person surmised that it was leaked to the press by Janet Stevens' opponent, who happens to be a town councilor in Brentwood. So I'm like, wow, that's kind of far away from home, and I don't have my shovel. I'm not ready to go digging just yet, but it's breaking news. It was right there the same day as the other stuff we just talked about.
What concerns me is this constant. I'm hearing this over and over again, and maybe because it's with us starting to learn about what your public servants work for us. We're just so you know, we're at the top of the food chain. We are the top of the food chain. Not the government, not the U.S. government, not the state government, we.
Not the local government either.
Not the local government either. It's we, the people. Local government, state government, federal government. They all work for us. And somehow we have got power-hungry, personality people with feral, absolutely feral anger issues. And have no problem discriminating men to women, old to young, you and me, I'm above you. And let me just throw this out here. Have any of you noticed, I think I pointed out to you once, but if any of you noticed, you go to a school board meeting where your property taxes pay for everything. Excuse me, they definitely work for us, but you guys come at me and come at Julie and people like that ask questions. You're nasty, in our face, spitting angry. Excuse me, I have a right to know where every dollar of my property taxes go. And you do not have the right to say, we've decided, because there ain't no we unless you got a mouse in your pocket or somebody else's hand. And you shout, you interrupt everybody. We have to speak louder. We have to speak faster. And then we've got this school board ensconced in this wooden area up on a stage.
Well, in City Hall, they call it the horseshoe in the Board of Aldermen.
Oh, is that what they call it here?
But I don't know what the school does here in Nashua, but you see these videos in other parts of the country where their feelings
get a court.
Hurt. They're like butt hurt, and they call the police on the person at the podium before their 3 minutes is up.
Turning off the microphone, interrupting, excuse me, this is my time. People paid for that microphone. We paid for every little chair, your butts, and I'm going to be really careful because I don't want to owe the swear jar. Every chair their heinies are sitting in. Every one of those beautifully wooden desks, and you see it all over, or their swivel chairs.
With the high back.
And the high back, but they're always up on a stage or up into this.
Yep.
I own it all. We own it all. Who do you think you are? Well, they think they're all that in a slice of cheese, and God's gift to all of us, it's our money. And you know what, people? It might be time for, I don't know, a vacation from taxes. All of us. Your decision. But if they're not going to listen and they're turning off your microphone and they're screaming at you, I came to Nashua and dealt with a recount, and I have to say, holy cow, who is the lawyer? I mean, I know his name. I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to give him any credence.
Okay.
You call them aldermen? Is that what they are? Aldermen?
Yep.
And the town clerk, and the only person that was decent was the lady that came from Derry to help. And then all the volunteers who knock you with their elbows, they get in your face like this. You know, number one, take a breath mint, maybe take a bath and comb your hair and put something on that's, you know, you washed in the last week. I have never seen so many people attacked. One side attack another. We're here for a recount. We're here to, I don't know, what did Kamala say last night? Follow the law? I'm not seeing it happen on any level. Really. And everybody's screaming at us, screaming at somebody you don't like. Why don't you start looking at the people who are not in charge, telling you that they're in charge when they have no authority? If we, the people, do not give a public servant the authority to do XYZ, they don't have the authority to give it to somebody else. So all these committees that are under, let's say, you know, a legislator, if we didn't give that legislator the power to, I'm trying to think of an example, put up tolls on the roads. They don't have the right to start a committee to make decisions on it because they never had the authority. This is what we're looking at time and time and time and time and time again. No authority because it was not delegated to them to begin with by who? You and me and us. That's a fact that's been buried, that, you know, you've been told, and we've all been indoctrinated in the schools and everywhere that that's not true. That's not history. That's not the Constitution. You have to follow it. No, we don't follow the U.S. Constitution. We follow the New Hampshire Constitution as it was written. Not as you perceive it, not because you changed a comma, because if we, the people, don't vote to change it, and the legislative branch, I think it's like 2/3, there's a lot of facts, and so it gets to be, woo, then it isn't amended. You can't amend it on your own, but yet they have. And then they bury it in the archives and say, oh, here's the new wording. Well, I'm sorry, we didn't vote on that. And this is the stuff they've been slipping under the carpet, and this is why this is where we are. All right. Let's move on to a subject near and dear to everybody's heart, the Noble Nine. Do you want to recap on what happened, what it was about, why they were arrested, why they were at this meeting?
Wow. Trying to think of what the condensed version is. Most people are familiar with it.
Right.
Basically, Sununu weaponized the state police. He was clearly seen both on security camera and private video, playing with his phone and winking and nodding and furrowing his brow at the police.
And doing this.
Tilting his head and such. And no one was being disruptive. And they were picked off. And so
arrested.
They were arrested.
And Perp walked out.
And so much, I mean, it was very dystopian. I mean, a lot of people have written great articles about it. Ken Eyring's article is my favorite one to share, which I did on the Granite Rock article on the 3rd anniversary, which was on Sunday. And you had said that was when the clock ran out.
So the clock ran out. And so there had been 2 or 3 meetings, and they kept being moved to a bigger facility, because more and more people showed up. And I had been at the first 2, and they moved the 3rd meeting to the police academy. And they had it curtained off, and only a certain amount of people 173, thank you. 173 people were allowed in, and there were way more people outside, not allowed in. And if you look at the official videos and personal videos, you will see that the presence The number of state police officers was extremely high. Why? None of these people were violent. None of these people were loud. Oh, I'm sorry. They took a sign, flipped it around and turned their backs on what was going on with the executive council and the governor, which is First Amendment, protected speech. Oh, that's right. They weren't talking. So they were very polite, turned their backs on them, which, oh, isn't that what the National Guard did to Joey B on?
It's inspired by that.
Because that's the ultimate insult, silent insult, which we're allowed to do. Again, you all work for us. Put the sign so the people behind them could read, hold it up in silence. They were well aware. Why are this many police officers here? What is this about? And what happened? I think one person said amen very softly, and the only reason it was heard is because someone was right next to them videotaping it. There were some murmurings, but there was no screaming, no yelling, no jumping up and down that I remember. And then all of a sudden you see up front, I'm not stupid. Married to a police officer. Not stupid. I am flabbergasted at what I saw. I really am. Horrified. I want to know what those officers were told was going on.
Right to Know's got stonewalled. I mean, Attorney Gens, who they retained, he put in the right to knows on those phone texts.
On the texting, yeah,
and then
of which
to get
there were
footage
many.
From the camera, it's like, okay, what's the camera? It's like a memory stick, or it's data that, they preserve.
Mm-hmm.
They took forever to release it, and they never got the text, the phone stuff.
To date, they haven't gotten it.
Yep.
Okay, that's not it. Sorry, I got so many law cases here.
You have the copy of the...
I do.
Okay.
Got it. Because they came on my Tuesday Rumble show and did breaking news to announce it, so it was filed right within the time frame, the statute of limitations, I believe it's called. Marilyn Todd, Albert A.J. Todd, minor child, which I will not say the name, John Schmidt, Emily Spiller, Therese Grinnell, Monica Holm are the plaintiffs versus State of New Hampshire, Governor Sununu, New Hampshire State Police, John Doe's, 100 defendants in total. So filed, you can go online and find it. Once it is filed, it is public information. Nobody owns it. It's for us too. It tells you everything. I don't have the case number on it. She didn't write it on
They haven't
there.
assigned one yet, do they?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Case 1:24, C as in cat, V as in Victor, 00330. It was filed 10/14/24, 15 pages. Do what we do. Download it, read it, see what's going on.
It's embedded in the Granite Rock article.
Oh, okay, and it's embedded. All right, go to the Granite Rock, and it's embedded in there. Click on the link, and you can download it right from there. And it's important, people. Very important. And we'll just keep it basic, because we can kind of give our opinion, but I want people to read this and understand what's going on. And this is going on in our courts everywhere.
And this is in federal court.
Yes, it is. United States District Court for the District of New Hampshire. So federal court. Good point. And they're requesting a trial by jury. I'm seeing this. It's a little strange. In the last year, there have been multiple lawsuits filed on the state of New Hampshire, the governor, the AG, the Secretary of State, and many others. And you can't help but wonder whether you get this or not, what's going on? Why are we having 91As across the board refused, ignored? Why we have people that are serving notices and affidavits, which are extremely important, to town officials, school board members, public servants, under the pains of penalty of perjury. And they're not answering. Why are they not answering? Because if they do, it's an admission of guilt. So they're not answering, so guess what? That means whatever we file is truth and evidence.
Kelly Potenza would say, and I quote, "That means you're right over the target," unquote. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So regardless what you think, regardless what your party is, you need to be reading these and being aware. What is going on with our state government, our three branches of government, that people are being silenced, being shot down, figuratively speaking, in court, time after time after time.
And it's kind of like that, was that Ouroboros, the snake eating itself?
Yes.
So it's like, okay, they'll use an exemption, because a typical polite right to know letter is, if you deny any part of my request, please cite the exemption, like Chief Ventura did with me.
Right.
Or there's the unreasonable delay while they're scrambling to find another tool to stonewall.
Well, and, what is that? Redact everything?
Yep. That's something Lori is working on with the NPAC. You know, like, why is so much of it redacted?
Well, if you look at our government in D.C., the swamp, the District of Columbia, which is not a state, it's a foreign territory. Why do you think they all hide out there? It's a foreign territory.
Yet a lot of people want it to be a state so they can pack the Senate.
It's not. It's a foreign territory, just as the City of London is a foreign territory in England. And, Rome is a foreign territory in Italy. But yet all three are the capitals and all three are foreign territories.
And isn't the Vatican foreign to Italy also?
Yeah.
There you go.
14 square miles, 1 square mile in England, and 10 square miles in the United States. Or is it 14 in America? I think it's 10. 10 in America, 1 in England, and 14 in Rome. And they all have their own flags, their own rules, and their own police.
It reminds me of Peter Griffin on Family Guy. He doesn't like Quahog Town Halls, something that they ruled on, or some zoning thing. So he says, "This is Pretoria," and he names it after himself, and he puts a flag in his lawn. And and of course, then they refuse to pick up his trash, and they shut off his utilities. And, at the 22 minutes, it does its thing.
It's really mind-boggling. And they don't, they accuse us and call us names because we question this.
Just answer the question.
Answer the question. If there's nothing to hide, answer the question. If there's nothing to hide, give us the information on the 91A. Because again, they've all been trained that they're the boss. I'm the boss of you. No, you're not. You may have been for decades and decades, and you may believe it in this tiny little space up here, but you're not. And more people are realizing the lies that are being told, the manipulations that are going on, the hiding. And this is, if everything's above board, then.
But you get this in the private sector too.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a front person, a person whose job is to answer the phone, and when I'm dealing with them, I try to be polite and stay polite to the best of my ability. Hey, I know your job is to answer the phone. I know your job is to follow orders, but I have a question. Mm-hmm. Like back in the Mask Madness, when City Hall let it expire, and I had a dentist appointment coming up that I, was trying to decide whether or not I was going to cancel or keep, based on whether or not I could breathe fresh air in the waiting room.
Right.
And I said, I don't want to say just the receptionist, meaning your job is to answer the phone.
But they say that back to I'm just the receptionist usually.
So, meaning with all due respect, I want to know if the dentist made this decision on his own, by Dr. Chan, by Concord, by City, not by City Hall because they let it expire,
right.
By the Dental Society, or we're using best practices.
Best practices of who?
Who decides best
Again,
practices?
It's like, by what authority? Best practices.
I want to know
they?
If he's got a boot on his neck, or if he, as the captain of the ship, is making this mask policy in his waiting room. I know it's private sector and we're talking about government, but it's like it trickles everywhere. People just won't answer questions.
Yeah. So You think we're wrong for being suspect? You think we're wrong for questioning? I mean, this is just what natural, intelligent people should do when something is completely out of whack and insane. Stand on the circle. Don't take too much toilet paper. Put your mask on. Don't talk to anybody on the circle. Don't go down the wrong aisle.
Yep.
Seriously, people, you followed that?
Follow directions.
At the beginning, we were all scared.
Yep.
And I think it lasted a week or two. And then, we're just going to, flatten the curve?
Yeah, 2 weeks to slow the spread.
2 weeks to slow the spread, yep. Flatten the curve. 2 years. And I got to the point, I think it was about 1 month, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't breathe, and I'm not going to be sucking in any bacteria that's on the mask because, oh, by the way, this is lie after lie after lie. And I got yelled at in the grocery store. You can't turn around and come back. So you know what I did? I walked backwards and went beep, 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 beep. And I'd get yelled at. And I was like, don't talk to me. Who are you? Don't talk to me.
Speaking of the 2 weeks, Rand Paul was our guest at the stakeout.
Yes, how did that go?
That went well. His keynote speech was about his book, which I have a copy of.
Did he sign it?
He signed it. It was run very efficiently. I volunteered in exchange for a reduced cover charge.
Mm-hmm.
I
purchased a book and did the...
I got the book included in my ticket,
right?
But for the reduced cover charge, I worked the raffle counter.
Got you.
And so, I wrote my name on the Post-it and waited in line. And then a volunteer had the books all open to the page.
So all he had to do was sign, say thank you, look you in the face, which he always does.
And so, I was not a VIP guest. I was, a reduced admission volunteer. So
You're a VIP. We're all VIPs.
Well, I didn't get to have my picture taken with him and just him like the people who were the VIPs. But I had someone hold my phone. I said, when I get to the front of the line, please take a picture of me looking at him signing the book. But anyways, it's a big book. It's 500 pages. It's called Deception. There's a picture of Dr. Fauci muzzled on the front of it. And so in the keynote speech, he did a summary of his mission of why it's important to him that this never happens again. Yeah. So I'm ready to dig into that book.
Ooh, tell me how good it is. I think I've got 14 books in
the queue.
In the queue. Oh my gosh. So in our remaining couple moments, I want to give you breaking news. So everybody, yesterday Albert Brandano filed versus David Scanlon, the Secretary of State, in his official capacity, a writ of mandamus, which tells the court, you need to do X, Y, Z. This is what we need. Let's do it. Basically, he's saying we have a federal election coming up on November 5th. And we have the Dominion AccuVote machines, which we've had for 40 years, illegally obtained, unconstitutionally put into use. It was supposed to be for a 3-year term, a lease that turned into 40 years. And they have little memory cards you put in and out, in and out. And LHS is in charge of all of this. They're in charge of the maintenance of these machines. They're in charge of the programming. They're in charge of the printing and all this other stuff. So these memory cards go in and they come out. Well, they arrive a couple weeks or a week before the election, and the moderator and town clerks pop them in. They do a test on the machines, make sure everything's working in test mode. And everybody smiles and high fives, and this is great. It's wonderful. Okay, do you know what's on the memory card? No, but you know what? This added with this, and this added with this, and everything looks good. Because it's test mode. So you get to, election day, and they roll the machines out. The memory cards are in there, and they open them all up, and here we go. You put your ballot in there. But if you dare ask to put it in the side pocket for a hand count, what are you doing? Put it in the machine. I'm sorry, the Constitution says the moderator shall sort and count the votes. Well, this is 2024. France does it in one day. You don't think New Hampshire can? Or any single state? India, Saudi Arabia, they all hand count. The world hand counts paper ballots because you have to do a recount, you need paper.
And the population of India is like astronomically more than New Hampshire.
So, oh, but you're so mean to the town clerks. I'm sorry, then maybe
They work
more
for us.
again, but maybe y'all should volunteer.
Yep.
Equally. Because, there's an RSA, an administrative law that says, there should be equal Republican and Democrat, because it's not about parties volunteering at every table to check people in. But that's not happening, is it? So he filed this because in federal elections, you must keep those memory cards for 22 months. Locked up secure in your city. Not at the Secretary of State, not at LHS, in your town safe. Chain of custody, baby. Chain of custody.
22 months, that's a little less than every 2 years. And as we were talking out in the lobby, city elections, I can't speak for towns, but city elections are in odd numbered years. So that means 12 months later, the following November, if there's no primary or special election on the in-between, you're going to have to reuse that card unless there's a second card.
Which there isn't. And so the Secretary of State has sent out notices and telling the town clerks and moderators that they shall return the memory cards to LHS. I believe it's a week. They have to wait a week because if somebody asks for a recount. So they have to maintain them. But a lot of the towns are not. They're sending them back because they have a town election within a few months. So they're wiped out, erased, and the new programming put on for the next election.
And this has been going on for 40 years.
Yep. It's the same as absentee ballots. Well, we have an affidavit envelope. Well, if it's an affidavit envelope, then the notary should be certifying your signature on the affidavit envelope.
Richard has been shouting from the rooftops about.
Which we all served 4 years ago, the legislative branch. Multiple, 13 of us did it. And because, try and go to court with an improperly executed affidavit. You'll be thrown out on your tush. So, but I have an affidavit envelope. Well, then fine, it should be certified. And, oh, by the way, take out the, 933 excuses for an absentee ballot. There's 2 and a fake third one for religious exemption. Where's the affidavit portion that was there for years and years and years? Where you don't sign till you're sitting in front of a notary. Who verifies that's your signature? Not the moderator. Yeah, that's John Smith. I know John. You don't know his signature. You don't know diddly. Separates it from the envelope and now shoves it through the machine, which is not supposed to be done till after the polling stations close. Shoves it through the machine when nobody's looking.
And then they try to play both sides of the fence by saying, oh, I'm not a document examiner.
Yeah, well, then you shouldn't be opening the envelopes because you cannot verify the signature. And if you are comparing it to the request in that one, where's your degree in handwriting? These are little things, people. They need to be cleared up. They're important, and it's stripping away our rights to instruct our public servants and make sure that everything is fair and equal. Well, I think we've had quite an hour here, Miss Julie.
A lot of stuff.
And I'm just an average person. I just stumbled into this 5-6 years ago. I didn't know anything about this. I just started learning. And I think we've all come along together and taught each other, supported each other, and are trying to let everybody know what are your rights, what should you know, what should you do, and don't be bamboozled because public servants work for us always. Is there any place that people could follow you or reach out to you?
I don't have any.
They can follow you at Granite Rock. You do a lot of writing.
Yeah,
How about that?
I do write Granite Rock, so I can be found there.
Okay, so Julie Smith at Granite Rock. And you can always send a message on my YouTube if you'd like me to ask her a question, and we'd love to hear from you. But please, know your 39 enumerated rights here in New Hampshire. We have more than anybody else, and they can never be taken away no matter what anybody says. God bless everybody. God bless America and the USA, and we'll see you next time.